what I want to do is spend the next 45 minutes just talking a wee bit about how you can benefit from delivering security services from the cloud. So what we've got with Arrow is a means of addressing that customer opportunity in a no cost, no risk, and we think an easily scalable solution. And how I want to go about that is, first of all, just talk about the potential benefits to you of adopting this type of sales model. Okay, why would it benefit you? Then we want to go into the technology in some more detail. Tyler will be covering that. And then some tips and tricks about how in North America we've been very successful taking these type of solutions to market. And then finally finish off with some teeing up the work groups or the work sessions for later on this afternoon. Okay, so what Phil did, I think, a great job of encapsulating was the market growth and the market potential, and talking about how that market is growing. So if you remember the analysis figures about web and mail security in the UK, that very high growth rate we're going to be experiencing. That's great, right? That's a market you want to be in. But also what we've found from our research is actually there's a real benefit to partners of selling those SaaS solutions to their customers. Okay? And the reason for that is that it's very easy to go ahead and install. Okay? It's a very easy way to go about doing that business. And what we've found, this is research from Gartner that we're showing here, is that first thing is, what type of revenue growth are partners who are, resellers who are seen as cloud providers experiencing versus those that aren't, okay? And we're defining this as based upon guys who have more than 50% of their business from the cloud, okay? So first thing is, what's happening in terms of the gross profit level for those resellers, okay, those cloud providers? It's on average 1.6 times that of a traditional reseller, okay? So what it should mean for you is a greater degree of profit margin. And then the reason for that is all the things that Phil mentioned earlier, right? It allows you to become a more trusted advisor to your customer, okay? And extract the value from them. What that means in turn is, well, your revenue per employee should grow. That's 1.3 times what you typically see from a non-cloud provider, okay? And then we get into some more interesting facts about revenue growth. So first of all, I think it's pretty apparent it's a fast-growing segment of the business, okay? And what we're seeing is the revenue growth is 2.4 times on average that of somebody who's not the cloud provider, okay? So what it's showing us is that if you adopt this type of sales model, if you approach that growing market, you should see strong revenue growth, and it should be faster than the rate you get from partners who are not adopting this type of sales model, okay? And then finally, another interesting one is about the amount of new customer acquisition, okay? I'm not sure how many of you are working traditional licensing models today, how much of your business is based upon renewals versus actually acquiring new customers. And what we see here is there is 2.4 times on average the mix of new business to renewal business within partners who've adopted a SaaS sales model or cloud providers. So, first thing, understand that market is rapidly growing. Second thing, understand that if you're part of that market and operating in a certain way, then it gives you some really key underlying metrics for your business, which allow you to grow and grow profitably, okay? So just shifting gears a little bit, what is SaaS Monthly? What are we actually talking about here? So Phil mentioned a few of these things, right? Web and mail security. Sorry. What we have with Arrow is web, mail, and endpoint hosted security delivered through the Arrow sphere to you. Okay, so it's three key parts of the market, which are growing quickly. The second thing it gives you is the ability to bill monthly, and that plays to the whole argument about customers now would rather consume their operating expense than their CapEx expense. It allows flexibility around adding, subtracting, or removing customers in service for a reseller, and for those customers itself, they can scale as their business grows. Next thing is, it's highly manageable. What we do, we provide the resellers with a management console that allows them to add multiple customers in a very, very simplistic way. And by the same token, we give the customers a console so they have admin rights and they're able to administrate and understand what's happening in their environment. And I think then finally what it gives you is actually the ability to take a very proven solution to market. Okay? So in North America, we've been very, very successful selling web and mail solutions. McAfee as a company exceptionally successful selling endpoints. So this is proven technology, enterprise class technology that you can access in the SaaS Monthly way with a very easy management console. Okay. So just a few things I want to sort of leave you with before I hand over to Tyler. What Tyler will do is take you through the technology in more detail. Is what are the sort of three main reasons why you might want to partner with us and deliver those services to your customer. The first one is, it's a very easy solution. Right? Why is it easy? Well, it's easy because there's no upfront costs. Okay? You don't have to install hardware, you don't have to install software. Right? Second one is, there's no certifications required. Right? You don't have to certify to sell these products. Right? The next one is that there's no co-terming. For these types of solutions, you don't have to deal with the traditional licensing models. It's ongoing, and every month you get the customer paying to you. Second one is, it's a very scalable solution. So what it allows you to do is add customers, and those customers add multiple users. So it allows you to scale very easily. And then the second part of it is, you can manage all your customers remotely as a remote management console for this solution. And then the final one, which I think everyone wants to hear about, is it's profitable. So I won't get into the pricing model here. That's something you want to discuss with Arrow in more detail. There's a few key reasons why it should be profitable. The first one is that this is something that's a growing market, and your customers are going to require this product set, and they want to consume product in this way. Okay? The second one is there's no renewal event. And by you focusing on new business rather than renewals and removing that operating cost in your business, that allows you to grow more rapidly and generate greater profits. Okay? So those are the sort of three main things I want to leave you with, just around why you might want to form this type of partnership with ourselves and Arrow. And with that, what I'll do now is hand over to Tyler, who take you through some more details around the product solutions itself.
Thank you, Tim. So my name is Tyler, and I'm from the U.S., and I have worked with McAfee for 7 years. And in the U.S., I currently manage hosting and managed services, and so I manage our top 15 partners in the United States that focus on cloud and managed services. I've recently taken over helping the European team as well to expand the market around these product sets. So I have a lot of great experience, and I'd love to talk with anyone after the session if they have questions about some of the things that Phil talked about, maybe compensation models, things of that nature that we will not cover here in the presentation today. But we're going to talk a little bit about the products. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the sales strategies and also some of the tools that we have available for partners to help you, quickly grow your business around these solutions in this market. And just starting off here, I want to talk you through each of the solutions just quickly and kind of share with you what they are, why they're relevant to your customers, and why you may want to include these as a part of your offering. So the first one is web protection. Everyone is familiar with browsing the internet and some of the threats that can be found there. Malware, spyware, keyloggers. A lot of the threats these days are coming from either web or email. And so what we see here at McAfee is that with web protection, we have the ability to provide protection for both threats, but also for content and productivity. And the way we see this solution play in the market is that customers, they generally are not as concerned about where folks are going online. That they're a small team, they don't really restrict access to the internet of their employees, but that leaves them very vulnerable, because if you're not going to restrict where people go online, the chances of them going somewhere that has malicious threats is much higher. And so for small businesses, we offer web protection, and we position it more around threats. So we can protect your browsing wherever you go online, and you're able to protect yourself against these types of threats. And then once you start looking at a larger mid-sized business, really they become more focused on productivity. And this is one of the best solutions we have from an ROI perspective. When we look at the cost of this solution per user per month, it's very nominal. And the thing that we encourage you guys to communicate to your partners and customers is that when you deploy a web solution, the best way to explain this to your customers is ask them how much they pay their employees per hour. And ask them how many minutes would it take for one of these employees browsing the web on an inappropriate website before it's equaled the cost of this solution. It's about 5 to 10 minutes for most organizations. I mean, this is a solution that delivers you an immediate ROI. And one of the beauties about SaaS is this is an enterprise technology. McAfee provides security for the US Department of Defense, others around the world, and this is the same technology that we use. So we have very expensive hardware and software and other methods of providing this same technology to your customers, and this is the form factor that is the most easy to deploy, the most scalable, and it provides your customers with all of the same features, so they're able to have actually the same anti-malware protection that we have for the Department of Defense in the US in the cloud for a small business at a nominal fee. And as Tim mentioned, you can add, subtract services at any time, which is very flexible for your customers. So it's really a friendly model, and it's very relevant to every business. And so web is one of the core products that we see a lot of growth around. But the next one here is actually our highest growth product, email security. Email security is the #1 method of communication for every business. Most businesses feel that their email is mission critical. If you were to ask one of your customers, what type of an impact would you have on your business if you were unable to communicate with email? It's a very big concern for most business owners, and a lot of times the way this has been managed in the past is you maybe had an Exchange server on site, maybe even a redundant Exchange server, which can be very expensive. Typically it's not used, and they have a lot of maintenance around that. And so one thing that, as we talk about this, it's we're transitioning to a model where you're providing more value to the customer, and typically we're not actually reducing their IT spend, we're providing them more solutions for the same amount. So you're not actually cannibalizing your historical method of going to market. We're actually just making you more relevant to your customers because they're receiving a lot more benefit. And email is one, because email protection and continuity provides the ability to not only remove spam and virus, which is the #1 way that threats enter most organizations, but it also provides you continuity. So if you ever have an outage, so if you have an on-premise Exchange server, or even if you're hosting in the cloud, you're still subject to maintenance, potential downtime, things of that nature. What this allows you to do is to continue to conduct business during that time. So if your mail server goes down, you can log into an online web portal, you can continue to send and receive email, communicate with your customers during that time period, and as soon as your mail server comes back online, whether that's hosted or on-premise, all of the mail will be synchronized with your mail solution. So it allows you to have just a single infrastructure for mail with the same redundancy that you wanted in the past, and so it's transitioning to a more high-value solution. And what we see here is a couple of packages. So we offer email and continuity. That's by far the most popular. And what we see is customers are actually willing to pay for the price of this solution for just the continuity alone. So we have some partners that will position it as a continuity solution, some who position it as an email solution. Obviously, the combined value is even greater. And then for those who just want a basic filter, we have inbound. The inbound filter is going to just be the spam coming into the environment. And what's unique about SaaS is that unlike a hardware or software, when you have that inside of your enterprise, the threats actually come into your environment. Your software identifies it. Not only does that use your bandwidth, it uses your server resources. You're bringing the threats inside of your network. What happens with a cloud email solution is you actually redirect what's called an MX record, your mail exchange record, to McAfee. And we filter all of the malicious traffic, all the spam, viruses, everything out of the email before it ever gets to you. So not only do you save on bandwidth and on the resources inside of your enterprise and just get a clean flow of email, you have the ability to have outbound filtering as well. So for content, attachments, you're able to create rules and policies with the email protection and continuity. It also includes free TLS encryption, so that would be B2B encryption. So if I'm a business and you're a business and we need to set up a secure communication tunnel between the two of us, that's included in this product, and that's something that is very important to a lot of businesses. If you're a financial institution and you do a lot of business with other like entities, you don't want to actually have an email encryption, which I'll talk about next, as a kind of a standalone solution where someone has to log into a portal and and do a password. You just do too much business, it's inefficient. So with email, it's included for free. But for those businesses that support B2C, so say again I'm a bank, but now I need to send a loan document to one of my customers, I'm not going to go set up a secure communication with my customer in advance in order to send them a single document. It may just be a loan document or something along those lines. So we offer email encryption as an add-on to the email security solution. And what that will do is it allows you to do document registration. So if you have certain intellectual property inside of your organization that you want to make sure that it's not being sent out, you can do that, and we can actually analyze up to 80% of a document if it's been changed and still identify that it's leaving the organization, and encrypt based on the policies, not only in the subject or the email, but also the contents of the attachments. So if someone's trying to send something out that would potentially jeopardize your business, its intellectual property, trade secrets, things of that nature, we offer the ability to do that with email encryption, and with the add-on encryption, it can be B2C. So without having to set up any type of a secure communication channel in advance, I can send you anything I want, and if my policies say, hey, it's got a loan document number in there, it will automatically be encrypted, ensuring compliance. Because one of the biggest things that organizations struggle with is that you can create a lot of rules about what people can and cannot send, and it's very difficult to update, maintain, and communicate that to your employees. The best way to do it is to have corporate policies that you've determined what information is sensitive, and automate that process. So your employees just do what they would normally do, and if they have a communication that would need to be encrypted, it will automatically be done. And what happens is the recipient of that email will get a secure online portal. So they can log in, they can create a username and password, they can view the email, they can communicate back with your customer securely with the encrypted portal. And so it's very nice for businesses that are doing the secure communications from B2C. And then we also have an email solution called email archiving. This is legal grade storage and retention of email. This is becoming much more popular. In the US, we've got a lot of organizations that are trying to maintain compliances. This actually allows you to do that. We have an unlimited storage of email for up to 10 years. So you can have all of your historical email, you can import it in, you can have it consolidated in a single hosted archive. And it's actually very valuable to have email archiving when you have email continuity. And a lot of our partners will actually sell them as a set and position it more around disaster recovery. Because when you have email continuity, if your mail server goes down, you have the ability to log into an online portal, send and receive email, continue to conduct business. But when you add archiving, you also have all of your historical email. So you're also able to reference all of the projects that you had in motion prior to the outage. So with the cloud solutions, they're combined in the same console. And when your customers have a solution and they want to acquire another one, it just goes into the same management infrastructure, same console, same portal. It's very simple for you to introduce these additional options. All of the solutions are integrated, and we do offer bundled solutions around all of the sets. So we see some partners will go to market with just email as an example, as a base part of their managed services plan. And then they'll offer continuity, archiving, encryption as an upsell. And then we also have some folks that will make kind of vertical bundles, if you will. So in the US, I have partners that have legal, medical, financial verticals, and they'll pre-package a lot of the solutions that they think are most relevant for that vertical into a package. And we'll talk a little bit about that in the sales strategy, but bundling the solutions is actually a very interesting way to increase your profit margins above and beyond the great margins that you get directly already. And the final solution that we'll talk about here is endpoint protection. I'm sure everyone's familiar with McAfee as an antivirus company. We've been in the business for a long time. Not only are we the #1, we just actually got this last week, global rating for cloud and content security, we're the #1 in endpoint, cloud endpoint in the world as well. And so this is a very mature solution. It's something that we've proven track record. We have the Department of Defense in the US, over 5 million laptops use this same SaaS product. So one of the benefits, and when we talk about these solutions, is that you get that enterprise technology and you get the ability to deliver it at a low cost to your customers. And so we're going to just take a quick look and talk about what this would look like within ArrowSphere. So within ArrowSphere, we've done a lot of work to integrate all of the solutions through API. So when Phil talked about the demands of your customers to have real-time, on-demand services, we've developed that for you jointly with Arrow. So with ArrowSphere, it's a single portal that will offer solutions beyond just McAfee as well. And you're able to procure all of your technologies with the licensing models that we'll go into more detail on here with Scott in a moment. But it's really nice because as a partner, you get your own cloud management console. You can see all of your customers in one dashboard. So you can log in, you can see all of your customers, whatever mix and match of solutions they have, you can see them and manage them remotely, which really at the end of the day allows you to scale because you're able to offer solutions to customers that may not be in your local geographic area. In the US, we have a lot of partners that have very strong online presence, and they can really scale their resources and their employees to serve a greater market. And one of the nice things there is that you can still give your customer admin capabilities. So if I'm a customer and I want to make my own policies that are relevant to my business, as a partner, you may choose to manage that as part of your plan or part of the services you provide, but you can also give that granularity to the customer. One of the biggest concerns customers have in moving to the cloud is that there's a perception that they lose control. If they're used to seeing an appliance or they're used to having a local software, the perception is, I'm going to lose control when this goes to the cloud. I'm not going to have the same ability to do what I did in the past. It's actually the total opposite. This solution, just email as an example, we've invested millions of pounds in developing this solution. It's a very robust infrastructure. It's something that no business could replicate on their own. And then we offer that to them with all of the enterprise features. We have customers on these products from 1 user to over 100,000 users. And as Phil mentioned, one of the beauties of SaaS is that you get the latest, greatest technology. You're always getting the best technology. Every time we make an update for our largest customer, the small customer gets the same features, the same service with no additional cost. It's really a value that they actually truly get enterprise technology. And from an administrative perspective, it's very simple if you're a small business. Most of our customers actually use our default policies. We configure all of these solutions so that you can essentially turn them on and they'll have all the pre-configured settings that you would need. But you have all of the enterprise features for those larger customers. If they want to get granular, they want to make rules, they want to have a lot of exceptions or things different, group-based policies for different organizations or different teams that they support, that's all available and you can provide that directly to the customer. Now, each end user also has their own console. So when I talked about continuity and I talked about archiving and having the ability to access these services in an outage, that's very important at the end user level. So if you're down, I can log in personally to my email and send and receive my email, see my own email, and it's all isolated, so I don't have to give access as an administrator to some global repository where they have access to other people's information. It's automatically going to be enabled, and it's something that will give the user level access. And this is very important when you talk about a product like spam filtering, because a spam message to me may not be a spam message to you. Maybe it's a newsletter, something that you really think is important for you. I don't want it. We do white and blacklisting, things along those lines at the user level. So it takes a lot of burden off of the administrator because they no longer have to make those rules globally. They can empower their employees to actually decide what's relevant for me, but still have the ability to do override any user level decisions. So if you have an admin policy that you want to say, hey, every email from this person, I want to make sure my staff receives it, they can't override that. So you can still make administrative rules, but give the end users as much freedom and privilege as you're comfortable with. And that takes a lot of burden off of your support team. They're not going to call you every time they have a spam message or a message that wasn't delivered and that type of thing. And the same thing applies with the other products in the portfolio. And then one of the most important things when you move to the cloud is reporting. So if your customers are familiar with seeing you in the office every Monday and Wednesday, and now you've switched them over to a cloud solution and you're not on site with them as often as you used to be, there can be a perception that maybe, why am I paying this guy? I never see him anymore. Reporting is extremely valuable in the cloud and in a managed services model because you're able to show the customer exactly what you're doing. And we have the ability to automate reports on a weekly or monthly basis so that your customers can constantly get reports about the number of spam, viruses, if they had an outage, how many emails were recovered as part of that process. And it's very valuable, and that's one thing I would encourage to all of you if you adopt these cloud solutions, to make sure that you incorporate the reporting into your portfolio because it adds a lot of value to the customer and it really helps with retention. With these services, we have some that have, like email, that has retention over 95%. A lot of that's based around just enabling the customer to know what you have done for them. And we find that as a very effective way for partners to grow and scale their business, but still provide value to the customer so that they don't think that now you're missing in action. And what I'd like to do now is talk just a little bit about selling strategy. So we talked a little bit with Phil about becoming the trusted advisor. It's a common theme. Every partner wants to be the trusted advisor for their customer. SaaS really enables you to do this because you're able to deliver much more value to your customers for the same IT spend. So you're making the solutions much more relevant. You're enabling them to get much higher utilization of the technologies that they're adopting, and that really allows them to have more faith in that you have their best interest in mind. You're not trying to necessarily just sell them the most expensive solution on the market. You're really their trusted advisor. You're helping them understand the right technologies. You're giving them affordable ways that they can procure these technologies, and then you're giving them a path to additional solutions that would even increase the value above and beyond where they are today. And so it's very important with cloud services to be relevant, to provide reporting, to still be engaged with your customer, and you'll find that the value that they receive from you is much higher because before maybe they could only afford one solution, but they knew they needed 3 or 4. Here you can offer them all 4 at the same price that they may have paid for one, so your total spend doesn't actually go down and your profit margin actually goes up because there is no hardware, there is no software. The gross margins are much higher in cloud. So even though the customer is paying less and they're perceived to be paying less, they actually get more value and you get more margin. So it's really a win-win for both the customer and you as a partner. And I talked a little bit about this, but it's an enterprise technology, and I'll give you one example. So I mentioned we've got this multi-million pound infrastructure for email. McAfee processes over 20 billion emails a day. We have a concept called GTI, which stands for Global Threat Intelligence. What that means is that if a customer in China that uses our service gets a spam message, we have a team of researchers, over 400 dedicated researchers that do nothing but that monitor these threats and trends 24/7. So if a customer in China gets a spam message, our global threat team sees it, they write a rule against it at the global level. Every partner, every customer in the ecosystem is instantly protected without ever receiving that message directly. So if you think about the size and scale of trying to build your own solution, or even a software or hardware solution, you're talking about doing patches, updates, maintenance to try to maintain that real-time protection. With a SaaS solution, we do it all for you. There's no maintenance, there's no updates, everything is done by the McAfee global team, and you get that real-time technology delivered directly to your customers. And so it's very important to emphasize that we offer hardware and software, and you can look at our solutions in those areas, and a lot of times you'll find that this is really the way to go, especially with the small and medium business customers. Now, we talked a little bit about new customer acquisition. A lot of partners really lead with SaaS when they're acquiring new customers, and that's, as Tim showed, why the new customer acquisition is so much higher for partners who focus on SaaS. It's a much lower barrier to entry. You can offer them a service that they can pay for as they use it. If they add users, subtract users, they can change that model. At any time, they can add additional solutions. There's no upfront cost, and so it's very efficient and it's very effective for you as a partner. you have no cost until a customer signs up. You know, you can push these solutions, you can promote them to your customers, and you don't have to spend a penny until you sign a customer up. So your cost and risk of promoting these is extremely low. And that's really one of the reasons why our partners do it, because once you are able to get a new customer on board with a simple service like email or web, something every business uses, you know, you then have a relationship that's reoccurring. You know, you're billing them every month, you're starting to establish that services relationship with the customer, and over time, you upsell and cross-sell additional solutions. So one of the things I mentioned earlier that I would talk about is bundling for success. So a lot of partners here, I would imagine, offer hosted exchange. Very common, maybe Office 365, Google Apps. These solutions layer right on top of those. So those solutions don't provide a lot of the outbound protection, the content, the encryption, a lot of the things that the businesses truly need. And with our solutions, you can not only bundle those right on top, we have a checkbox for Office 365, a checkbox for Google Apps. We've taken care of all the complexity of integrating with those solutions. But when you bundle, as a provider, you don't have to necessarily break down your service packages by line item. So what I mean by that is that in the US, what we'll find is a partner may go to market with a package that says it's £100 per user per month, and it includes these 5 or 10 technologies. Half of those technologies might be here, and they may cost you £10 to £15 to actually acquire them as a partner. So you can actually build a very robust sales and services model around these technologies. If you're doing a line item where you're selling a single technology, obviously we'd recommend you keep in line with the suggested retail price. It is public information. You know, you don't want to have a perception that you're trying to charge your customers more than what's fair for these technologies. But when you create a package and you bundle it and you manage it on behalf of the customer, I've seen partners increase their margins 300–400% above the margins that we'll talk about, which are already fantastic. So when you build these solutions and you bundle them together, think about relevant solutions that you already offer today. Think about how these may complement those. And you may not move 100% to the cloud right away. They can have an on-premise Exchange server. You complement these solutions with things that are relevant to them, and that's kind of the introduction to moving them more to a services model. And once you've got them on board, it's much easier to upsell and cross-sell. It's a very nominal fee to add a new technology. It's managed in the same place. With ArrowSphere, you can buy a whole range of technologies in the same platform. So it's something where for you it's very simple, for the customer it's very simple, and it's very profitable. And that's really what we see, because there's a concept that we focus on in the services model called ARPU, which is your average revenue per user. And as you move to a reoccurring revenue model, this becomes very important, because this is kind of the predictable revenue that you can build your business on. When you first start with these services, perhaps maybe it pays your phone bill, your light bill, things of those nature. But as you grow this business, it's paying your mortgage, it's paying other things, and it's very predictable. Every month you can expect this to be there, and it gives you as a business owner much more flexibility to focus on some of the more high-value technologies. You know that you're going to be able to have some stability in your business, and then you can go out and you can really focus on some projects that may be more unique, maybe outside of the box, because you know that your bills are going to be paid based off the core solutions and the stability that you have around this. And then, this is also a common perception. A lot of partners say, well, if I move my services to the cloud, I make all of my money doing break-fix. If we think about that a second, a lot of partners, when they first started break-fix, would come out with a similar package as I just mentioned. It's £100 per user per month. But every time you have to go on site with the customer, every time you have to do a support call, that cuts into the amount of money you're charging them per month. So your actual profit margins may be much, much lower at the end of the month. So with these technologies, you can still charge the same amount for the same package, but you don't have all the invested cost of going on site and doing other things. So you could still do services, management, administration, set up configurations, and we have a lot of partners that have built very successful models around deploying cloud services, and so they're just transitioning from a break-fix to a services, sales, support type of environment, which customers like more. No one you guys, this aligns your interests with your customers. You both want it to work all the time. So there's no longer a perception that, hey, you're my IT provider and you love when this stuff breaks because you come in here and charge me, to fix it every time. This aligns your interests with the customer. We want it to run all the time, you want it to run all the time, and that's how we're both going to be successful. And then one thing that I would like to mention is that partners do want to expand, so SaaS is certainly the best place to start. It's the easiest, there's no hardware, there's no software, but McAfee does have a broad portfolio, over 60 technologies with Arrow. We offer a managed services program. We're not going to go into any detail on that today, but that's typically the evolution of the cloud provider. Once you've kind of got them on board with cloud, you may look at other additional managed services, which could include hardware, software, still licensed in a monthly services model. So that's typically the evolution of where people go. And one of the things that we've developed for the ArrowSphere partners is a tool. It's called the MX Discovery Tool. I mentioned a few minutes ago that the way the email works in a hosted configuration is that you redirect your email to a provider like McAfee. We've actually developed a tool that will allow you to analyze your customers, potential customers, and understand what they're using. So if they're using cloud technologies today, we can help you to understand that. We can help you to identify who they use, what they're doing, and it's used for competitive displacement. So if your customers are buying cloud solutions from someone else, you can identify that. You can introduce that now you have these technologies. You already have a relationship with them. They can now acquire them from you. When we look at upsell, cross-sell, it allows you to identify which customers would be most likely a fit for these solutions. And then also marketing. It allows you to create custom campaigns. And so I'd like to give you an example of this is one of my partners in the US. They have 16,000 customers, active customers. They're a broadband provider, kind of network infrastructure, bandwidth. They have a very big ecosystem of customers, but not all of them are doing managed services. So when we looked at their customer base, one of the things that we saw right away was that, and just for this, MX Logic is McAfee. That's the technology that we acquired in 2009 that is the email security solution. So when we looked at their customer base, MX Logic, they had 1,270 customers. That's about 30,000 users on our email service that they're getting this monthly reoccurring revenue. But when we looked at all of their customers, they only sell McAfee. Every one of these customers with another solution was buying it from someone else. And one of the things that Phil briefly touched on, and I don't know if everyone's aware of it, but one of the larger providers that was in this space was Postini, now owned by Google. They announced just a little over a year ago that they were end-of-lifing their product in favor of Google Apps. Last year, McAfee, with this tool, we've moved over 1 million users to McAfee. And one of the things that we saw right away with this partner, they had the equivalent number of Postini customers as they had MX Logic customers. Just focusing on that one competitor that was end of life, we were able to take their business from 30,000 to 60,000 users. And so it's a very powerful tool to understand what your customers are using. Now, if they don't have a cloud solution, that can also be valuable. You're going to see that come in as unknown, and that allows you to do this. And the way that this works is all we need is the domain name of your customer. So we don't need any identifiable contact information, any lead lists that you have, prospective lists, existing customers. We have a team here at Arrow that will be able to analyze those lists for you at no cost and provide you some information about your customer base. So you can get a feel for who might be an immediate target for these solutions that I can pull into my management. And I'd be happy to give some people some more details on that. But again, it's very simple, domain name only, and we can provide that very quickly to you with an analysis. And this also shows Office 365, it shows Google Apps, it shows a lot of the other relevant solutions. And when I talk about upsell, cross-sell, if you find all the customers that have Office 365 as an example, we know that they have no outbound encryption, no outbound content filtering, things of that nature. That's a great way to talk to your customer and bring value. We know that you guys are using this technology. Maybe you didn't even get it from us, but we have a solution for you to enhance that, to make it more business friendly. And that's where we'll stop and open it up to questions.